Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. Joining us this week is Brandon Youngdale, product manager at phone.com, engineer, programmer, and a lot of other things. Welcome, Brandon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you usually start with a quick introduction about the guest. So if you'd like to just give us a few information.
Yeah. I'm Brandon Youngdale. Like you said, I work at phone.com. I've been there 9 years, so I've been there a long time. We're a communication service provider, so we do, the usual suspects of PBX features, but we have lots of other ones as well. We have conferencing. We have receptionist services. We call it Live Answer Connect for actual live receptionists, and we have which is AI receptionist services for taking down, scheduling and appointments and answering calls and routing them for our customers. That's one of our newer products, and we have, CRM integration. So that's what we do. So we sort of do all things VoIP up and down. We have APIs for provisioning a lot of those things, or all of those things, really. And so yeah, we are heavy users of FreeSWITCH, have been for a long time. And I've been in the support side, I've been in the engineering side, and now I'm on the product side. So I've enjoyed my fair share of VoIP and FreeSWITCH all these years.
Oh well, yeah. I've worn a few hats too during the years, so it's always interesting to see how the different departments perceive what we do.
Yeah.
So I know you will be a speaker at ClueCon this year, which is in August from the 12th to the 15th in Chicago. More on that later. But more importantly, what is the and I hear your talk is going to be about modernizing a stack. So first of all, where does that come from? Did you of course I assume you had to work on that at phone.com?
Yeah. At phone.com, started in 2008, I believe. And I joined in 2015. So there's already been, a lot of water under the bridge by the time I joined. And then by the time I joined the engineering team, even more. And we moved from, sort of a hybrid setup of Asterisk, FreeSWITCH, and some other things, and consolidated on FreeSWITCH a few years ago. And I led that effort at phone.com, getting all of our features working, par for par on FreeSWITCH that, we're either already on an older version of FreeSWITCH or an older version of Asterisk. And so I have done it, and it's hard because, I call the talk Modernizing a Legacy VoIP Stack, and it's tough because, legacy sometimes is thought of as bad, but it's almost like the positive way of talking about technical debt. Like we all want to leave a legacy, and I think every time you write code, you're leaving a legacy, whether someone likes it or not. And someone else has to come in and own it. And so that's what my talk's about. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, then I think the usual question I like to start with is starting from the reverse side. So what went wrong? Like, what do you think, what you will not do again? Lessons learned.
Yeah, what would I never do again? I mean, I think, the full rewrite is a brutal endeavor. But I think sometimes you have to. There's this interesting article by Marcus Kohlberg, and it's called "You Can't Unboil the Frog." And he writes about this idea of there does come a point where maybe, it's gone too far where, we just do have to rewrite this. And it can kind of feel like declaring bankruptcy almost. But as long as you are able to kind of lead the way, and I think a lot of times it's leadership. I had a really good boss, Alok, who really led the effort, and I was just the workhorse. And we came out the other side. But if we could have done it another way, when I look back, I think there would have been a lot less pain or a lot less hard work on our side. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So what is the what's the path you were taking? Like, what was the starting point? Why did you need to modernize? After all, voice over IP projects, sometimes they keep trucking for the most part. I know those people were running Asterisk 1.8 with success still. So
yeah.
Where did you start from, and what did you arrive to?
Yeah, so we started with, I think, yeah, it was, we had upgraded our Asterisk and our switches some the best we could, and it was sort of an older Perl code base. And so I think the hard part, not necessarily that it was some sort of really bad stack that the people who had written it done anything wrong, but it was that no one really understood it.
Mm.
And now looking back, no one really understood the VoIP engines, right? The Asterisk and the FreeSWITCH really well. And so actually in the process of rewriting, I learned it really well, and the rest of the guys on the team learned it really well. And so then now, now I can look back and say, oh, okay, I see why they did this. I see why they built it that way. But the main problem was just no one really understood the stack. And so then we started to migrate, and we learned a lot, and then we migrated. Now we run most of our stuff is Lua in FreeSWITCH, and then we have some Go listeners for other different things, for the ESL events to talk to our other systems. So that's where we've gone to and from. Yeah.
That's I feel like you hit the nail right on the head. Very often it's not that it doesn't work, it's that you don't know how it works, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're
Yeah,
one engineer retiring away from being dead in the water.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I remember reading once that, and I don't know if they still do this, but I Googled, when a new person comes in, they just give them a piece of a system and they say, rewrite it. And I see that now, like there's a wisdom in that, because now they've rewritten it, they know it, they own it, as opposed to what can happen is everybody's just looking at it, scared of it, it doesn't want to touch it, and we'll only do it if you make them. Yeah.
And what was the plan? Like, how did you? What are the main components that got replaced or rewritten, and you stopped using Asterisk?
Well, no. So we had kind of a hybrid of a lot of our PBX features were on Asterisk, and then we had kind of a lot of sort of proxy-like features in our free switches. And so we've moved, the proxy and sort of the very VoIP specific features into Camalio, and then the main media services or features into FreeSWITCH. And so that's where we've moved to, and so it was very specifically just the VoIP features. So same data store, all the same web configuration. We didn't change any of that. It was sort of just a change the engine while you're driving. It was the expression that everybody used around here while we were doing it.
Good. So wow. And how big was the team, first of all? That's always an interesting question.
Yeah, the team, we were a team on our side, on the VoIP side, and the kind of operation side, it was probably 5 of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, one, my manager, who was a developer, and me. We have one guy who's super good with VoIP, and then a few other people who were sort of sysadmin types.
Well, that's already a good size team. Like it's 5 people is probably the minimum you can tackle a platform like that. Yeah. So, well, I think that's cool that you built a lot of that in open source, which is very often a topic here, and which leads me into the real question: how did you find help? Like, did you find the open source community helpful? Did you get in contact with with project managers and leaders? What happened there?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean, I came to ClueCon. It must have been 2018, maybe 2019 was my first one. I've been twice, and I remember just the osmosis of being there, of just soaking in all the experience, and just asking tons of questions, and just like when you see that, oh well, these people know how this works, then I must be able to figure it out. Was so helpful, and I remember talking to Brian West about all the things, all of our problems, all the things we were trying to get working. And that was super helpful. Dave Horton, who a lot of people know in the community, was super helpful, just encouraging, and always there and willing to help. So yeah, the open source community definitely. And then I used to just pour over the mailing list trying to search for why something wasn't doing what I thought it should. And I feel like I've read all those mailing lists over and over again, in addition to the documentation.
So something comes to mind before we look at the open source community more. Did you have any testing implemented during the rewrite, and was it beneficial? Did you find testing will actually get in the way? Oh, mainly referring to automated testing, of course.
Yeah. We set up a little bit of automated testing, but mostly it was manual. We went through manually, with our spreadsheet, me and another guy, and just made sure we understood exactly how each call worked. And down to each sound. Okay, when you press it, then it transfers this fast or this slow, or then it plays this message, and making sure we matched each thing word for word, and we wrote it all down. And I think that was the most helpful. The automated testing is nice after the fact to know, okay, I know it works. Now I don't want to break it. But there was a lot where we were trying to make sure, do we know exactly how it needs to work? So not a ton of automated testing when we were doing the move. It was a lot of manual, making sure we all knew exactly how it was supposed to work, wrote it down, had it saved.
Yeah, I think automated testing is something that nobody does enough of, that I've always been a big proponent. And there's a few open source tools that are very good. We mainly use SIP and a couple of related WebRTC tools, and those are really helpful. Like we have our stack it's not even many tests, like it's 40, 50 that run every time anything is deployed in production. They're no affect tests, so they don't affect anything. We just run a few calls effectively, and then it's being super helpful.
And when you do those tests, the hardest part I feel like with the automated testing in VoIP is the media. Like you can do sort of sanity testing to make sure, hey, the call was supposed to go here, did it land there and get answered? But do you guys have any things you do for like media, making sure the call was answered with the right codec, or DTMF came through, things like that?
Yes, we actually test the platform using a FreeSWITCH server that will call, try to press the TMF, and then we do a little bit of speech recognition just to make sure, since we know what's going to be played and the quality is good, we can trust the fact that speech recog will always be correct, and we'll just look for a few words, and it works. For video, we use something interesting. We use a QR code generator combined with a timestamp. So we can also check for sync. So at second number 10 in the call, you should be seeing this QR code, this specific QR code. That's pretty neat. It's that's also
so it captures
Brian
the
West's
QR code.
work.
Yeah, and then it says it. That's pretty cool.
That's all Brian
that makes
West,
sense.
So
so with the FreeSWITCH media, you're sort of making sure you can basically just have your FreeSWITCH be your test agent and say, oh yeah, I got the DTMF. And then, then I heard this audio. You could almost just even save the audio, and then verify it was the same recording that you expected.
Yeah, I think recordings are saved somewhere. It's happened that we had to listen to them, but the just using a little bit of speech recognition, really, it's all you need. Just have a message on the other side you expect that says something that's uncommon, and then check the words are actually there. That's worked very, very well for us. It is, and we've been expanding on that, but really we started from there. So yeah, another interesting question I always ask to platform people: where do you run? Do you run on Iron? Do you run on Docker? Do you run on Kubernetes? Do you run on whatever? Where is the platform deployed?
Yeah, we are running on bare metal, and then we have some up in the cloud as well. In AWS. So a little bit of both, but most of our production stuff is run bare metal just because we can get the most out of it there. But we use Ansible, and we can deploy it anywhere, but for right now, that's how we do it, because it's just the best option for us.
Yeah, it feels like to me that the real difference is made on the host. If you're running on bare metal, but you're still using Docker or Kubernetes, you still get a lot more mileage out of service, especially in voice over IP. we are fully cloud native. Everything runs on hyperscalers, but we have 2 data centers in the US now, and those boxes are running laps around the cloud stuff. We still have a lot of capacity in the cloud, but that's a lot more expensive, right? Like those 10 boxes are running laps around an entire AWS deployment. It's just it's just how it is in voice over IP, right? We rely on different things that are not always available.
Yeah, I guess it's just that that real-time aspect with the media, you can get so much more out of it. We found that, like running the Camalios is much easier. You can kind of put those anywhere because they just, are just so fast and they're so specific, job specific what they're doing. But with the FreeSWITCHs, it is they're workhorses. They got a lot to do.
For sure, it is. I find that FreeSWITCH can take a lot of calls, but you have to give it the proper resources, like anything else. Like given Camilio, you can run out of file descriptors. There's a lot there that is, but you can go a long way. So overall, how did you find the open source community still works well when they get together? Did you have anything you couldn't find, help you couldn't get?
No, I thought everyone was super helpful, super open. It definitely feels like it's a gang of everyone sort of like we're all in this together trying to make this work. I always found it a very, very welcoming sort of place. It wasn't, everyone trying to compete with one another, but we're all trying to make this VoIP stuff work and this open source, platform work. As long as you're open and not, hostile, not coming in expecting, the open source FreeSWITCH community to do everything for you, to have everything figured out for you. Everyone is super willing to help. Yeah.
How long did the project take, more or less?
How long did it? Yeah. Probably, I'd say from when we started to when we were done, a year and a half, when it was fully, out. Yeah.
So not
But
too bad.
I'd have to verify on that. Yeah.
Something in that ballpark, though, a bit more than a year, which I suppose it's expected from. I mean, it's still something. So, if I may ask, how many users do you have in that system now?
How many users? I don't know. I don't know if I am allowed to say if that makes sense. Sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
it's a big system.
In the tens of thousands range,
So definitely a good number. It's not easy to run. Well, then, have you ever been to ClueCon before?
Yeah, I've been twice before, and it was great experience. Yeah, just so much. There's so many people with so much experience. It's always like you just pull someone out of the crowd, and you're learning something you didn't know before.
Oh, yeah. Do you have you ever participated in dangerous demos? Because I think this year you should.
I don't think I ever did do a dangerous demo. The 2 years I went, I should do one this year.
Why not? Yeah, so it's always fun, and it is. We've had our share of incredible stories come from there, from the bubble wrapped FreeSWITCH server that was.
Yeah, I was there for that. I remember that one. Yeah.
So that's the resiliency of open source software, right?
Yeah. That's bare metal for you.
Good. So, no, it's okay if you say no, but do you also contribute to those projects as a company? I mean, have you ever sent out a patch or even just filed a bug? Just trying to keep track of what people are doing.
Yeah, with phone.com, I have submitted a patch. I think just one before. I mean, we submit like bug reports a lot, over to Brian, but I think once I added a patch for mod valet parking to add an exit key. So you could set, like a valet exit key. So if you're parked, you can allow people to hit that DTMF and get out of the slot. That was one I remember I did probably 3 years ago.
Nice. What I always say is that patches are great and pull requests are always welcome, but even just filing a bug in a correct manner, like actually explaining what the problem was, maybe a bit of logs, a way to reproduce the bug, is a great way to contribute, even if you don't have the time to actually fix it, or maybe you don't know how. But very often we don't have the time or anything. Like if you can reproduce the bug, you sort of can fix it in general. Even just that's something I always stress. Like, don't people say, I don't think people always contribute. They don't want to contribute because they say, I'm not going to be able to fix this. But sometimes just tell me what happened. It's okay. My line up with other reports. Oh, so this other group has had the same issues. So, or this is probably tied to that, and really helps. So that's where I would go to get some help. Well, any other conferences you'll be attending in the future, just so we can put some events in roadmap?
No, not on the roadmap right now. I went to OpenSIPs last year. That was my first time, not at the ClueCon conferences, and that was great. But no other conferences on my.
Oh, great! Yeah, that's something I always ask, because it's happened to me in the program that I've discovered good events that I went to, and so I always ask if someone's at anything I haven't gone to.
Besides ClueCon, what's your other favorite conference?
Well, I always have to say FOSDEM, which is a bit of a weird event. It's the free 2-day conference in Belgium every year in Brussels. It's around the first week of February, and it's completely free. And 25,000 people take over the Brussels University sessions. There's scheduled sessions, but there's also people who just set up random small sessions around the place, just showing their project because they didn't make it into the schedule or whatever. If you set up your computer without any kind of firewall or protection, or if you set up a scanner on purpose, you're getting scanned 10 to 20 times a second by something looking for vulnerabilities, whatever. It's that kind of conference. It's chaos. It's just great. And it's the only thing you don't want to do there is be the first speaker of the second day, which just happened to me once, and nobody was there. Because in Belgium, beer is very good and cheap.
So everyone shows up and they can't make it the next day.
It was around 10-ish before you actually had people at the conference. So the first couple of slots weren't great. But other than that, that's a favorite. And the big events, well, ClueCon is my favorite for pure technical content. Very focused, very interesting. If you go to an industry one, probably the only one that I like is MWC, whether it's the Barcelona or the US. It's mobile focused, but in reality, you got a lot of cutting-edge technology right there. There's always startups. There's always large companies showing something new. I feel like large industry events, you either go there to see what's in the future, or otherwise it's just 3 days of constant advertising, which I can get by staying at home.
Just enough. Like 10 more services that you need to sign up for.
I'm not a super duper fan of large commercial conferences. So again, the only one I like is NWC because it's important enough that you get actual new stuff there. You get to see newer equipment, new projects, a lot of startups. It's always good. And that's it. Well, then looking forward to seeing you at ClueCon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So, well, Brandon Youngdale, product manager at Fund.com, joined us today. Took us through as a journey in modernizing the stack, which is also going to be the topic of the talk at ClueCon. And, well, looking forward to meeting you in Chicago from the 12th to the 15th of August, Brandon.
Yeah, you too. Looking forward to it.
And thank you for joining us. And for the rest of the people, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.